Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo and today we are going to do my January wrap up. January was a weird and wild month and I think I'm not alone in that sentiment. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of things to talk about. So if you're new here, my January wrap up includes the books I read, the things I wrote, and some personal life details that I would like to share with you. There's quite a bit to talk about, so let's jump right into it. So I first just want to say that there was a very large pile of books, aka 8 of them, that I read for a specific reading vlog. That includes 3 poetry collections: Dear Survivor, Reclaim the Light, The Stories That Told Me by Kaylee Kempers, and Old by Emily Schaubeck. A continuation of a series where I read Lost in the Moment and Found and Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shannon McGuire. A new romantasy, The God and the Gumiho by Sophie Kim, as well as 2 audiobooks. I listened to the short story Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin and The History of Whales by History Nerds. And I'm not gonna talk about these books because I literally spent an hour talking about them in a dedicated video and I don't want to waste your time here. So please go watch that vlog if you're interested. It's great background fodder and I geek out. I love books and I love reading and I talk so much about my thoughts in there. So I read 8 books in that vlog and a total of 11 books in January. Who am I? The first one I actually finished for the year was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And this is a book where a couple goes to this weekend retreat in Scotland and they're hoping maybe to rekindle their marriage that has been gradually fading and not being as loving and kind as they both want it to be. But unfortunately, both of them have a lot of secrets. And there's also another character who shows up and has secrets of their own. So there is a lot of trying to figure out what is going on, who is telling the truth, who is lying, and how do they all connect to each other. I don't read a lot of thrillers, so this was honestly such a delight. I could not figure out for the life of me what was going on, and then it started clicking and I was blown away. The only thing I didn't like about it was the last chapter. I thought there was some nice things that were tied up, but I didn't really need the final. It almost felt like an epilogue that kind of ruined the mystery and intrigue for me. But I would still give it probably 5 stars because it kept my interest and I wanted to know what was happening. I then finished The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is a horror novel that follows a young woman named Ji Hong, and she is a Korean American who has a pretty abrupt life event where her father just leaves their family, and it kind of just leaves them very shocked and angry, and Ji Won has to follow her mom and help her going through this weird grief and trying to just find a man to support her. It has a very feminist lens to it, and it also has a lot of conversation about how white people, in particular white men, treat Asian women. And I really thought the commentary was on point. There were so many times in there where I was cringing and wanted to deck people. Just stop being gross, because I also know this is real life and this happens and I'm like, oh, why are people like this? But I loved it. And the main character, as the cover you could probably tell, starts to form an obsession with eyeballs, and it just gets gruesome and delightful. And I loved it. 5 stars. Definitely will look out for another book by this author. And then continuing with the horror train, I started this book last year, several months ago, and I just kind of lost my library loan and had to wait for it to come back. But I finally finished it, and that was Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpshin. This is an Irish folklore and mythology book that follows a couple different timelines and several different people, and they're all tied to this mysterious TV show called Pookin, where there is some unknown puppet in this box and everyone seems to avoid talking or looking at it, but something is definitely going wrong. And there's a lot of abductions and missing people and deaths that can't be explained but are supposedly suicides. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into this book, and I'm not gonna lie, It was quite long, and I wanted to give this a 5-star. I thought I was gonna love, love, love the premise, but it did take me quite a while to get into the novel and really like sink my teeth in and be like, oh wow, this is so good. And I also just thought like what was promised in the synopsis was this whole Pukin thing, and that didn't come until literally like 200 pages in the novel, which was halfway through, and I was just like, wow, this was a long time to get here, and there was no references at all to my memory, and maybe I'm lying and I missed it, but like there was no references earlier than that. So yeah, I wanted to love it. I enjoyed it very much in the end, and it was very well written, and I really liked the characters, but yeah, couldn't give it quite a 5. So 4-star for me. And it's reading related, so I'm gonna just mention it here, but very last minute on like January 26th, I decided that I was gonna join Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon this year. I've never joined it before, but I watch Books and Lala every single year, and I was like, you know what, finally, I'm gonna do it, because I had 2 books she's doing 2 different challenges, by the way. It's like one is her normal like buzzword, and then the other one is a cover challenge. So the eyes are the best part fit the cover challenge, which was having a pattern in the cover, and in the background there is like this wallpaper like texture which is patterned on that cover. And then for the other challenge, it was lies, lying, or liar, or truth and true. And for that, I chose The Lies We Conjure. And while I read most of it in January, because I didn't start reading it until like the 27th, I ended up finishing on February 1st. So I'll talk about that in my February wrap up, but I am counting it for the Buzzwordathon because I got really close in like 2 days time reading that book on a short notice. So I think I deserve the credit. And that's all the books I read. So let me know what your thoughts are, and if you are interested in reading any of the books that I read this month, because I read quite a lot. So on to the things I wrote. I don't actually have a ton to talk about because January started off as a slow but steady month. And then I had like a whole week where shit hit the fan and I didn't write at all. And then I had a whole week where I was just on a roll. So basically all I focused on was writing my Project Vampire and trying to get closer to the end of this novel. I had an experiment, and that is not posted yet, but it will be coming out probably next week. And I had a really fun time trying to write, even though chaos was still ensuing in my life. But yeah, the only thing I really had to focus on this month was my vampire novel. I didn't write any new short stories. I didn't write any new poetry. I didn't submit to anything. So it was a pretty boring month for writing, hence why there was not much writing content. Sorry, guys. But hopefully we'll be back at it next month. And then for my personal life, again, it was a little bit crazy. So I won't go into a lot of details, but there was some personal crises in my household that needed to be addressed. And that caused a lot of chaos because time off at work unexpectedly, rearranging my schedule. I am a therapist. It's very hard to reschedule people when you are already back to back with clients. So that was a little bit of a chaotic week. I got a stomach bug at the end of the month. Like, what is happening? Also, there was this whole thing in America that's going on right now. So yeah, there's a lot that was like really weighing. The beginning of the month was good though, and I was so hopeful. It was so hopeful that we were gonna be like killing it, you know? But I attended my writing club and did some really great writing there. I attended book club this month. We watched Blink twice in the month, and I really enjoyed that movie. Again, I'm on a horror roll, probably because I'm writing horror, so like that's been my jam. But we also binge watched season 1 and 2 of Silo. And I don't know if you guys read the book. I believe the first book is called Wool. And there's an Apple TV show called Silo based on the book, and it was like a sci-fi mystery, and I love that shit. I love sci-fi, and I love like post-apocalyptic things. So I was so hooked, and I feel like we didn't get any answers in season 1, but I was still like ready. I was like, give me something. And then season 2 came out right as we were finishing season 1, so we just kept rolling with it. And yeah, it was great. I really love that show a lot. And depending on how it goes and how it ends, might be the top favorite right now. It's a contender. We also started both Severance, I believe is season 2, and Mythic Quest season 4, but the first episodes came out at the end of the month, so we started those. And otherwise, like most of our time has been spending watching Pop Culture Jeopardy Or for me, like I played a little bit of Fortnite this month, got back into that, and honestly, I'm pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like, am I gonna compete against like Ninja or people like that? Absolutely not. No, I'm not that good. But like, I'm pretty good. So I got a couple solo wins. And yeah, I just, sometimes it's really nice just to kick back and shoot things just to take your mind off of it. So that's been my January. I wish I had more exciting updates for you guys, but truthfully, it is cold, 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 and gross in Pennsylvania this time of year. And also, life has not been very kind. So I'm hoping that, I always say this, right? Hopefully next month is going to be better. I hope. That's all we could do, right? So if you guys are also like having it this month, I hear you. And, you know, just be kind to yourself. If you need to, stay off social media and protect yourselves and just do self-care, because that's what I'm going to be focusing on too. So thank you guys so much for this little life update. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know down below any updates you want to share. What did you read in the month? How's your writing going? You watch any good movies or shows? Or did you just have something exciting happen and you want to brighten my day? That'd be great. So that's all for me. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.